The church doors burst open with a crash. The singing stopped. Children clung to their mothers. And in that frozen moment, the outlaw Cole James stood in the doorway, his gun raised, his heart as hard as the bullets in his belt. Then he saw her, Abigail Hart, the pastor's daughter. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She only looked at him with eyes that held no fear and whispered 6 words that would change everything. "I'll pray for your soul, Cole." The little church had never known such fear. The people inside had come to sing, to pray, to forget the troubles of the wild land outside. But trouble had found them. Cole James stepped inside, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. His gang followed, their guns out, their faces mean. The air smelled of candle wax and sweat. Women gasped. Men stood frozen. A child started to cry. Cole didn't care. He was there for one thing, money. The town's bank was too well guarded, but a church full of scared folks. That was easy. "Nobody moves," he growled. "This ain't your fight. We're here for the offering box." His men spread out, shoving people aside, knocking over benches. Cole's eyes scanned the room. That's when he saw her. Abigail Hart stood near the front, her hands folded, her chin high. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't shaking. She just watched him, calm as a summer morning. Cole didn't like it. People were supposed to be afraid of him. One of his men, Jesse Pike, grabbed a boy by the collar. "Where's the money, preacher's kid?" The boy whimpered. Before Cole could stop him, Jesse raised his hand to strike. Then Abigail spoke. "Leave him alone." Her voice was quiet but strong. Jesse laughed. "Or what, little lady?" She turned to Cole, not to Jesse, to him, like she knew who really led this gang, like she could see right through him. And then she said it. "I'll pray for your soul, Cole." The room went still. Even Jesse froze. Cole's stomach twisted. Nobody prayed for him. Not since his mother died. Not since the world turned cruel. Jesse snarled. "Shut her up, Cole, or I will." The gun in Cole's hand felt heavy. He could silence her with a word, with a look. But for the first time in years, he hesitated. And that hesitation would cost him everything. Cole's fingers tightened around his gun. Jesse was waiting, his grip still on the boy's collar, his eyes daring Cole to prove he was still the cold-hearted outlaw they all feared. But Abigail's words hung in the air like a ghost from his past. "I'll pray for your soul." No one had spoken to him like that in years. Before he could stop her, Abigail closed her eyes and began to pray out loud. Not for herself, not for the people in the church, for him. "Lord, show Cole mercy. He's lost, but you can find him. He's hurting, but you can heal him." Her voice was soft but steady, like a river cutting through stone. The people around her stared, some in fear, some in wonder. Jesse's face twisted in anger. "Enough," he snapped, letting go of the boy and stepping toward her. Cole moved without thinking. His arm shot out, blocking Jesse's path. "Leave her be." Jesse's eyes narrowed. "Since when do you care?" Cole didn't answer. He didn't even know himself. A memory flashed in his mind. His mother, years ago, kneeling by his bed, praying over him the same way. Back when he still believed in things like mercy. Before the night the outlaws came. Before the fire. Before he stopped believing in anything but survival. Abigail's prayer ended, but the silence that followed was heavier than before. The gang shifted uncomfortably. Even Jesse hesitated. Cole made a decision. "Take the money," he ordered his men. "Then we're leaving." Jesse scowled. "What about her?" He jerked his head toward Abigail. Cole met her eyes. "She comes with us." Gasps filled the church. Abigail's father lunged forward, but one of the outlaws shoved him back. Abigail didn't fight. She didn't scream. She just looked at Cole, her face calm. "What?" "Insurance," Cole lied. "So nobody follows us." But deep down he knew the truth. He didn't want to leave her behind, and that scared him more than any sheriff's bullet. The ride to the gang's hideout was long and silent. Abigail sat in front of Cole on his horse, her back straight, her hands folded in her lap. She didn't try to escape. She didn't even tremble. Jesse and the others kept glancing at her, then at Cole, their faces dark with suspicion. Cole ignored them. He had bigger problems. What was he going to do with her? When they finally reached the old mining shack where the gang camped, Cole pulled Abigail aside while the others counted the stolen money. "You're not safe here," he said lowly. "Jesse thinks you're a loose end." Abigail studied his face. "And what do you think?" Cole hesitated. "I think we can make a deal." "A deal?" He glanced toward the gang, then back at her. "I'll help you escape, but it has to look real. If they think you're dead, they won't come after you." Abigail didn't react the way he expected. She didn't jump at the chance to run. Instead, she tilted her head. "Why would you do that?" Cole's jaw tightened. "Let's just say I owe you. For the prayer. For the way it made him remember things he'd buried long ago." Abigail was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "All right. I'll help you make it convincing." Cole blinked. "You trust me?" She almost smiled. "I trust God, and I think he's not done with you yet." Cole didn't know what to say to that. Before he could answer, Jesse's voice cut through the air. "Cole, we got trouble." Cole turned. One of the gang members was pointing toward the tree line. A rider was coming fast. Cole's stomach dropped. It was the sheriff. And he wasn't alone. The sound of approaching horses sent the gang scrambling. Cole shoved Abigail toward the back of the shack. "Stay there and stay quiet," he ordered. Jesse cocked his gun, his face twisted in anger. "This is your fault, Cole. Should have never brought her." Cole didn't argue. He peered through the cracked window. 3 riders, the sheriff and 2 deputies, had stopped just beyond the trees. They were talking, pointing toward the shack. They hadn't seen them yet. "We can take them," one of the gang members whispered. Cole shook his head. "Too risky. There's a back way through the canyon. We split up, meet at Red Creek." Jesse's eyes flicked to where Abigail stood. "What about her?" Cole's hand tightened on his gun. "I'll handle it." The moment the gang slipped out the back, Cole turned to Abigail. "We need to move. Now." They hadn't gone 50 yards when gunshots rang out. The sheriff had spotted the others. Cole pushed Abigail behind a boulder just as a bullet whizzed past his shoulder. Then pain exploded in his side. He stumbled, his hand coming away red. Abigail's eyes widened. "You're hit." More shots. Closer now. Cole tried to raise his gun, but his vision blurred. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Abigail's determined face as she grabbed his arm and dragged him toward the canyon shadows. When Cole woke, firelight flickered on rough stone walls. He was in a cave. His side burned where someone had bandaged it. Abigail sat nearby, grinding herbs between 2 stones. Seeing him awake, she brought over a cup of bitter-smelling tea. "Drink this. It'll help the pain." Cole frowned at the unfamiliar plants. "Where'd you learn this?" "My grandmother was a healer." Abigail's fingers were gentle as she checked his bandages. She believed every life was worth saving. Cole looked away. No one had touched him with such care since. He couldn't remember when. "Why'd you save me?" he muttered. Abigail didn't pause in her work, because hate never healed anything. Outside, the wind howled through the canyon. Somewhere in the night, coyotes cried. And for the first time in years, Cole James felt something dangerous, hope. 2 days later, Cole could walk again. The wound still ached, but Abigail's remedies worked better than any doctors he'd seen. "We should keep moving," he told her as they packed their meager supplies. "Jesse won't give up easily." Abigail folded the spare blanket. "Where will we go?" Cole hesitated. There was one place. My mother's people. The Cherokee don't take kindly to outlaws on their land. We'd be safe there. He didn't mention how long it had been since he'd seen his mother's family, or how they might react to the man he'd become. They were nearly to the horses when the crunch of boots on gravel made Cole freeze. Too late. Jesse and 3 others stepped from the trees, guns drawn. "Looks like you're feeling better, partner," Jesse sneered. "Shame you won't live to enjoy it." Cole moved in front of Abigail. "This is between us, Jesse. Let her go." Jesse laughed. "Still soft on her, huh? I knew bringing her was a mistake." He raised his gun. "Say goodbye, Cole." A shot rang out, but it wasn't Jesse's gun. The outlaw dropped to his knees, clutching his shoulder. Behind him, Abigail stood with Cole's rifle, smoke curling from the barrel. Her hand shook, but her aim had been true. The other outlaws scattered as Cole grabbed his gun from Abigail. You shot him," he breathed. Abigail met his eyes. "I told you I'd help you escape." In that moment, Cole realized two things. Abigail's heart was full of surprises, and he couldn't leave her behind now even if he wanted to. As they rode hard for Cherokee territory, the wind carried Jesse's fading curses behind them. Cole knew this wasn't over, but for the first time, he had someone worth fighting for. The outlaw life was behind him now. Whatever came next, he'd face it with Abigail by his side. The horses were exhausted by the time they reached the abandoned mission church. Its wooden walls sagged with age, and the cross above the door hung crooked, but the roof was intact enough to shelter them from the gathering storm. Cole dismounted stiffly, his wound protesting. He turned to help Abigail down, but she was already sliding from her saddle, her dress dusty from days of travel. She caught his look and smiled faintly. "I've been riding since I was 6. My father believed every child should know how." The mention of her father made Cole glance back the way they'd come. "They'll be looking for us." "I know." Abigail pushed open the creaking church door. Inside, the air smelled of old wood and dry hay. Faded paintings of saints watched from peeling walls, their colors muted by years of sunlight streaming through broken windows. Cole barred the door behind them while Abigail explored. She paused before a small wooden figure of the Virgin Mary, its paint nearly gone. With careful fingers, she righted it on its stand. "Someone loved this place once," she said softly. Cole busied himself checking their supplies. People abandon things. That's how life works. Thunder rumbled outside as the storm broke. Rain pattered against the roof, finding its way through cracks to plink against the stone floor. Abigail gathered dry wood from a corner and built a small fire in the hearth. As the flames grew, she took out her Bible. The worn leather cover creaked when she opened it. "Would you like me to read?" Cole stared into the fire. "If you want." Her voice was clear and steady as she read Psalm 23. "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." To his surprise, Cole found himself mouthing the words along with her. His mother had loved that psalm. When Abigail reached the end, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life," Cole finished aloud with her. "And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Silence fell between them, filled only by the rain and crackling fire. Abigail looked at him with quiet understanding. "You remember." Cole shifted uncomfortably. Some things stick with a man. A particularly loud thunderclap made Abigail jump. Without thinking, Cole reached for her hand. Their fingers brushed, then tangled together. Neither pulled away. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, for the first time in years, Cole felt something like peace. The Cherokee village lay in a green valley, smoke curling up from morning cook fires. Cole reined in his horse at the tree line, suddenly uncertain. Abigail studied the orderly rows of houses and the children playing by the creek. "It's beautiful." "Been 10 years, Cole muttered. "Might not remember me." A dog barked as they rode in. Faces turned their way, some curious, some wary. Then an old woman dropped a basket she was carrying. "Suka," she whispered, using his childhood name. "Little Wolf." Cole swallowed hard. "Hello, Auntie." The woman, his mother's sister, rushed forward, her hands fluttering over his face like she couldn't believe he was real. Then her eyes fell on Abigail. "And who is this?" "My friend," Cole said. The word felt inadequate. His aunt's sharp eyes missed nothing. The way Cole stood close to Abigail, the protective tilt of his body. She nodded slowly. "Come. The elders will want to see you." The council fire burned low as Cole told his story. The bad choices, the blood on his hands. Abigail sat quietly beside him, her presence steadying. When he finished, elders standing bare studied him for a long moment. "Your mother's spirit has waited for you, Tsuka. A man who rejects mercy has no future, but a man who seeks it." He spread his hands. There is always a path home. That night, as fireflies danced over the creek, Cole found Abigail watching the stars. "Thank you," he said quietly. She turned to him. "For what?" "For not giving up on me." The words came hard, but they were true. Abigail's smile was like dawn breaking. "Everyone deserves a second chance, Cole James. Even you." And for the first time since he was a boy, Cole believed it might be true. The morning sun had barely risen when the shouts came. Cole woke instantly, his hand going to his gun before he was fully awake. Outside the small guest house where they'd slept, voices rose in alarm. Abigail sat up quickly, her hair loose around her shoulders. "What is it?" Cole moved to the window. His stomach dropped. 6 riders in familiar dusters had stopped at the edge of the village. Sheriff Dixon sat tall in his saddle, his silver badge glinting in the morning light. Behind him stood 5 armed deputies. "They found us," Cole said quietly. Elder Standing Bear was already walking out to meet them, his back straight despite his years. Cole grabbed his hat and turned to Abigail. "Stay here." She stood immediately. "Like hell I will." The rare curse surprised them both. Abigail flushed but held her ground. "Where you go, I go." The village had gone quiet. Women pulled children inside. Men stood ready but waited for the elder's signal. Sheriff Dixon tipped his hat to Standing Bear. "Morning. We're here for Cole James. Got word he was hiding here." The elder didn't blink. "This is Cherokee land. Your warrants mean nothing here." The sheriff's jaw tightened. "He's wanted for robbery, kidnapping, and attempted murder. I'm taking him in." His eyes flicked to Cole as he approached. "One way or another." Cole stepped forward. "The kidnapping charge is nonsense. Abigail came with me willingly." "Is that so?" The sheriff turned to Abigail. "Miss Hart, your father's been worried sick. These men forcing you to stay." Every eye turned to Abigail. She lifted her chin. "I'm exactly where I want to be, Sheriff." The lawman's face darkened. He shifted in his saddle. "Then I reckon you won't mind testifying to that in court. Both of you come peacefully now and—" "No." Cole's voice was firm. "You take me in. She stays here." The sheriff's patience snapped. "Enough. James, you're under arrest. Resist, and my men have orders to shoot." The deputies raised their rifles. Abigail suddenly grabbed Cole's arm. "Wait." She turned to the sheriff, her voice clear. "What if we're married?" Silence fell over the clearing. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. Cole blinked. "What?" Abigail's cheeks were pink, but her voice didn't waver. "A wife can't testify against her husband. That's the law." The sheriff's mouth opened, then closed. He looked to his deputies, who shrugged in confusion. Cole stared at Abigail like she'd grown a second head. You want to marry me?" Abigail met his gaze, her eyes shining. "I believe I just said that." For the first time in his criminal career, Cole James was truly at a loss for words. The mission church looked different in the soft light of dawn. Someone had swept the floor and picked wildflowers to place along the pews. The Virgin Mary statue stood straight now, her chipped face serene in the candlelight. Cole stood stiffly at the front, wearing a clean shirt one of the Cherokee men had lent him. His hands wouldn't stop sweating. "You look like you're facing a firing squad," Standing Bear murmured beside him. The elder had insisted on serving as his witness. Cole swallowed hard. "Never figured I'd get married. Certainly not like this." The elder's eyes crinkled. "The best paths are often those we don't plan to walk." The door creaked open. Abigail entered on the arm of one of the village women, wearing a simple white dress borrowed from the same family. Her hair was braided with small flowers, and when she saw Cole, she smiled so brightly it hurt his chest. The traveling preacher they'd found cleared his throat. "Dearly beloved." The ceremony passed in a blur. Cole heard his own voice promising things he'd never dared promise anyone before. Abigail's hands were warm in his, her eyes never leaving his face. When the preacher said, "You may kiss the bride," the entire congregation held its breath. Cole hesitated. Then Abigail rose on her toes and pressed her lips gently to his. It lasted only a moment, but when she pulled away, Cole felt something inside him shift and settle, like a door long closed finally swinging open. Outside, as dawn painted the sky in pinks and golds, the Cherokee women sang a blessing song. Standing Bear placed a hand on Cole's shoulder. "Your mother would be proud today." Cole could only nod, his throat too tight for words. Abigail squeezed his hand. "Come on, husband," she said softly. "Let's go home." And for the first time in his wandering, broken life, Cole realized he finally had won. The morning sun painted golden streaks across the prairie as Cole James, no longer an outlaw, no longer a fugitive, dug the final post hole for the new corral. Sweat trickled down his back, but the ache in his muscles was a good one, the kind that came from honest work. Inside the small cabin they had built at the edge of Cherokee land, Abigail hummed as she kneaded bread dough. The scent of rising yeast and burning cedar filled the air. Through the open window, she watched Cole wipe his brow with his sleeve before returning to his task. A year had passed since their hurried wedding in the mission church. The charges against Cole had been dropped, thanks to Sheriff Dixon's reluctant acknowledgement that Abigail had, indeed, gone with him willingly. The gang had scattered, Jesse Pike locked away in a Texas prison. And here, on this patch of land gifted to them by Standing Bear and the tribe, they had built something neither of them ever expected. A home, a life, a future. Cole straightened when he heard the familiar sound of small, quick footsteps. A boy no older than 4 barreled around the corner of the cabin, his dark hair tousled, his cheeks flushed from running. "Papa, Papa, look what I found." Cole dropped the shovel and crouched, catching the child as he launched himself forward. In the boy's small, grubby hand was a smooth river stone, veined with streaks of blue. "Well now," Cole said, turning the stone over in his palm. "That's a fine treasure, Samuel." The boy beamed, his eyes, Abigail's eyes, shining with pride. "For Mama." Cole ruffled his hair. "She'll love it." Samuel squirmed out of his hold and dashed toward the cabin, shouting, "Mama, look." Abigail appeared in the doorway, flour dusting her apron. She accepted the stone with exaggerated awe. "Oh my, this is the most beautiful rock I've ever seen." Samuel puffed out his chest. "I find it all by myself." Cole watched them, his heart so full he thought it might burst. Later, after supper, when Samuel had been tucked into bed and the last of the dishes were put away, Abigail joined Cole on the porch. The stars stretched endlessly above them, brighter out here than anywhere else. "You're quiet tonight," she said, leaning against him. Cole wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Just thinking. About—" He hesitated. "Never thought I'd have this. A family. A place to belong." Abigail smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "Funny how prayers get answered, isn't it?" Years later, when Samuel was nearly grown and the ranch had flourished into something prosperous, the boy sat beside his father on that same porch, staring up at the same stars. "Papa," he asked suddenly, "how did you meet Mama?" Cole chuckled. He'd known this question would come someday. He glanced through the open window, where Abigail could be seen reading by the firelight, her hair streaked with silver now, but her smile still as bright as the day he'd met her. He turned back to his son. "She prayed for me," he said simply, "and God answered." Thank you for joining Cole and Abigail on their journey of redemption, faith, and love. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt tales of second chances and new beginnings. Let me know in the comments, what was your favorite moment?